Hello, and thank you for joining me in this interview. Indeed, you studied the media market in Moldova before came here, and I want to ask about the level of Moldovan media on the road to reaching international or European standards.
Well, yes, you're right. BBC Media Action has been working in Moldova for a number of years, supporting different local media partners. And I would say that the Moldovan media market is quite sophisticated, relatively well developed. BBC Media Action works all over the world, and certainly Eastern Europe is, compared to many places in the world, a sophisticated and developed market. Where we hope to add value is supporting the development of local media organisations in serving audiences in Moldova and in addressing challenges such as disinformation.
What positive aspects have you noticed, and in your opinion, what would you like to improve in that situation?
Well, certainly in terms of working with, this is our first time working directly with TRM, and one of the most positive things I've come across is TRM, I understand, is the most trusted broadcaster in Moldova, which is a fantastic position from which to start. That's terrific for the national broadcaster to already be in that place. I think it's early days in the project. Our experts will be visiting TRM and making their assessments and looking at what to do, but certainly we'll be looking at trying to improve editorial guidelines and seeing how to bring together TV, digital and radio platforms so that audiences are better served.
Talking about public media channels, what does it mean to be a leading national broadcaster in the UK, and what are the positives in that field?
Well, I would say first and foremost it's a position of great responsibility. Above all else, there are a set of editorial values, of which one is trust. And the most important thing is to think about what those values mean in everything that you do as an organisation. So it's not just about, obviously media content is essential in terms of news, but also in terms of other types of media content, such as entertainment. It's really important that those values cut across everything that you do. And then just from the perspective of managing the organisation as well, those values need to cut across, and so that the staff are motivated to deliver against the mission of the organisation, and so that audiences also see that effort, and audiences, above all else, trust the broadcaster and the content that you produce. In a world where disinformation is a growing problem, that position of trust that TRM holds with the audience it takes years to achieve that, and just one day to destroy it, one bad event. And so it's about understanding what those editorial values are and what they mean in terms of the media production, in terms of the media management.
In that case, I would like to ask, how could the BBC and Media Action support our TV network and share the experience of promoting quality media to help improve the diversity of our products?
Well, I think we'll be looking at a range of different things in the organisation. We'll certainly look at the existing editorial standards, the editorial guidelines, and we'll be working with TRM's management team to strengthen those editorial guidelines. We will be working with TRM's production teams, looking at a number of TRM's flagship programmes and seeing what support we can provide to improve aspects of that. We'll also be looking at some of the media workflows, in particular trying to bring together TV, digital and radio platforms so that your production teams are in a better position to produce content that is valid for and can be used on a number of different platforms. Historically, often broadcasters have TV over here, radio in a different building, and digital is on the other side of town. We hope with this project to bring those different departments together so that journalists are better able to produce content across different platforms.
I know that one of the components of this project will be focusing on young journalists, and how it will be.
Well, I think you have to think about the future and the next generation of journalists. And so, yes, with this project, we'll be looking to support TRM in how they're thinking about how to bring in the best and the brightest of the next generation of journalists into the organisation, and how to support those individuals to grow their careers within TRM. Because one of the things that we've learnt at the BBC, it's often those individuals that work with you the longest that have the most successful careers. And certainly we would look to support TRM in that sort of way. We want TRM to grow on the successes that it's already achieved with audiences in Moldova, and certainly being able to connect with younger audiences. Younger audiences tend to be moving away from traditional platforms like radio and TV and moving to digital and on-demand content. And that's a trend that we're seeing all over the world. And so this is why the move to digital is so important for every national broadcaster. And certainly ensuring that your journalists and your staff also, understand the needs and aspirations of young people and that younger generation, that's equally important.
What do you think it will be the long-term impact of that program?
Well, I think that remains to be seen, but we would hope that growing that relationship of trust with audiences is essential. We would also hope that TRM is left in a position where it remains the most trusted and the most popular broadcaster in Moldova, and is in a better position to address problems such as disinformation. So we're looking to support you to improve your content and your editorial standards.
Currently, propaganda and disinformation are the biggest challenges facing the media in our region. What tools can we use to strengthen our resilience in this area?
Yeah, so as you say rightly, disinformation is a really serious problem now, and it's an ever-changing phenomenon. So I think, frankly, we're still learning about different approaches and what works and what doesn't. But certainly one area I'm clear about is that research is essential in understanding how disinformation evolves and also in exactly what works. One thing I'm quite clear on is no matter what, a focus on truth and accuracy is just essential. I think audiences know when something isn't quite right, when they're being told something that isn't entirely true. But obviously that problem is becoming more complex now. It's important to maintain the focus on the nature of the problem and understand what works and what doesn't work. And for me, research is really important. But TRM's in a great position to address this problem. And it goes back to this position of trust that TRM holds with audiences in Moldova. And maintaining that position of trust above all else is going to be critical in tackling disinformation successfully.
How can journalists balance objectivity and media priority in this avalanche of information?
That's what being a journalist is all about, is navigating those challenges on a day-to-day basis and using your editorial judgment to tell the truth to audiences. That's really what it boils down to, and understanding that the responsibility that goes with that. It's very tempting as a journalist or as anybody who is active on social media. It's very tempting to think that the number of likes or the number of followers is the number one priority. And often editorial values are compromised because of that desire to get more followers or more clicks. But a responsible journalist will stop and think about these issues and really think about what matters in terms of content and really think hard about those editorial standards and about reflecting not just the truth, but also a diversity of different voices that make up society. It's the most important thing is that everybody in Moldova, no matter who you are, feels that TRM and their voice is reflected somewhere in TRM's content. And that would be that element of diversity, we hope, would be something else that we can bring to the project.
Thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you very much for welcoming me here today.